People, we are back. The Yu-Gi-Oh show. Look, I told you guys that this is one part of Yu-Gi-Oh that we aren't gonna drop, man. We're gonna keep dropping these episodes because it's always a good time, and we have the usual suspects here to chat about what's been going on in Yu-Gi-Oh. So, yeah, how have things been, guys?
I'll let Andre kick this off because when we joined the call, it sounded like he had a lot to say.
Where do we start? That is the question. Where do you want to start? Like, realistically, we're talking about metagame, state of the game, players' thoughts and opinions on the game. Like, where do we want to go from here?
I think we need to
start on metagame, right? Because at least for me, I'm a bit removed. Like, I haven't really been following the game too much. The tiny thing. Quick shout out to Ahmad who got second at UK Open. I was watching UK Open yesterday, and it was fun. But yeah, what's been going on with the metagame? I know the new Maxi is out, so I'm expecting it's basically heaven in Yu-Gi-Oh land now because that card is out. That must be what's happening.
So, Tempai is a thing. Put it that way. Tempai is a thing, and I thought at one stage that the Mulcharmies was gonna kind of like refine deck building in a sense where you would see people playing these weird techs just because they'll get hit by a Mulcharmy and need to do something that doesn't obviously play into it. So I was expecting to see a lot more thrusts, a lot more wacky, weird and trap cards. I don't know. I've seen Threatening Raw hit the field a couple of times, which was interesting. Yeah. But ultimately, it just makes for, I wouldn't say brain dead gameplay, but thoughtless gameplay. In a sense where you know when it was Snake Eye format and people were just chucking hand traps at each other. Yeah. Now people are resolving Fuwalos, chucking hand traps at each other, or board breakers, which in a sense can be a little bit frustrating in terms of an experience. It's not always the case. I've mentioned this before. It's a case of the haves and haves not. If you've got Fuwalos, you're gonna play that way. The card I wouldn't say it forces you, but it's pretty stupid to play any other way other than just resolve Fuwalos and then throw hand traps at your opponent. And I've seen that quite a lot. Meta decks, rogue decks, anyone that's able to get it, you're just gonna see Fuwalos, and it does quote unquote warp the metagame, so to speak. Yeah. There are ways to play around it, but again, it's the case of haves and have-nots. So I went to a regional week and a bit ago. Bombed, I got cooked every round. I played against a Millennium player, dropped Shifter on me twice, and then dropped Fuwalos on me in the game 3. I managed to play through Shifter game 2, which was good. That was like a good back and forth, but then dropped Fuwalos on me, and I was just like, what do I do here? You know what I mean? What do I do here? And then proceeded to OTK me, and in the process put Secret Village of the Spellcasters up, like, which is
my gosh.
The metagame's interesting. The top decks can somewhat play around it. There are some counter plays. I think Silahat Rabbit is definitely a pricey card now because it effectively trades 2 for 1 or 2 for 2 depending on how you look at it, because it can pop a spell and trap and you get the Azaroon. But if you're not playing that, you're just gonna get punished. Locals, you probably won't see Fuwalos unless you've seen people that are practicing for like regionals and YCSs and whatnot. But any competitive kind of like event, expect to play into it, and it's especially with regards to Tempai, it is a bit of a problem for rogue decks. Some rogue decks will just die to it, and that's just the bottom line.
Yeah, I feel like Tempai is like the biggest reason that the Mulcharmy cards are getting as much hate as they are right now. Like, because I think, like, it might sound facetious, but I think it's true that Tempai is probably the best blind second deck maybe ever, right? Like, let's not mince words. Like, and it can play, not only is it evolved to play like the most toxic hand trap potentially ever in Dimension Shifter, but it's now also main in 6 maxis. Like, it becomes nuts, and this is something that I've noticed in testing with the Mulcharmies in the main deck. Like, if you're playing like a regular deck that like kind of like blinds first, if you see Fuwalos, it doesn't feel like it does when you see Ash, like along with your starters and stuff, because sometimes like that can just be the icing on the cake. Like your opponent might be able to crack your board, but they can't play through an Ash. Whereas if you open a Fuwalos going first, it is effectively a dead card. And unless you bricked yourself, you're not just going to pass just to get a few draws, because you're probably going to lose. But in the side deck, I've found personally is where it really shines. An example, it's an example with Perulia, but I think the main sort of thesis still applies. Like I was playing in the locals and I dropped Perulia on a player who was on Ignista, and I managed to draw 7 cards and 4 of those were hand traps. So it just felt unfair. Like
7 cards, bro.
Is what I'm saying.
I can't like. I'm surprised that guy let you. At that point, bro, just let it happen. Like, just.
I'm saying it. It's what I'm saying. Like, because I've had moments where like I just try it. Like if I get like a Fuwalos drops on me, like I just try and go for like a little more conservative board. Like obviously I'm playing Ubel, so like there is a lot of extra deck stuff that happens there. I actually think Perulia's like the worst one to play around because like obviously you just shotgun it. Like there are very few decks that can play around a Perulia. Like even if you're playing something that's like fucking stun, at least they're gonna go even.
You're gonna normal summon once, Yeah.
But I think Fuwalos is a much more powerful card than Perulia, 100%. Like there's no discussion. But one of the cards that I really want to talk about that has shot up recently is Dominus Impulse. I don't know if any of you have been on the receiving end of a Dominus Impulse.
It's rough. It is rough. Just the fact that it's like you have to half play around it as well as all the other cards that you're playing around. So like you're trying to play around Ash and then you get hit with an impulse. You just get stunned out of your turn. You're like, whoa. Okay.
And the maddest thing about that card, I think, is that you can use it when you have other cards on field. So it's like sometimes there's always this thing of they have a card on field, so it's like I have to play around in permanent stuff. With that card, its peak, it just comes out. And it's like, what the heck? How did I get stopped here?
It's awful. Like for example, one of the decks that we've been testing over in Sanctum is like Mimigals, and that deck is something that plays through Imperm evenly, Lightning Storm quite effectively because it drops a guy on, right? They drop Impulse, and it's like
you can't even use your Mimigals on them anymore. They're stunned. Because that's mad. Because for people listening, obviously I think all the Mimigals are Earth, right?
Yes.
So what Mimigals like doing, I don't like Mimigal, by the way. That deck annoys me. I don't think it's unbalanced. It just irritates me to play against. I don't actually like. It's not like unbalanced. I just don't like it. It's annoying. What Mimigal does is they chuck a card on your board, then it flips and it does stuff. But when you use Impulse, you can't activate Earth effects anymore. So
the whole game plan's just over.
So I'm actually building Mimigal as well. So I've more or less completed it. I might take it to locals on Wednesday. But there is a bit of a caveat. Like somebody else has kind of thought through the whole Dominus Impulse thing, and this is just a bit of a tech if you don't know. So they're playing the new, what's it called now? I can't remember. It's the XYZ that came out of Rota. And basically it can attack twice, but you can exceed with it by discarding a spell or a trap. And you can put it on top of the mini, and it forces all the Mimigals into attack position. So if you know anything about Mimigals, their attack is fairly low because it gets combined because of the field spell. So you just basically you just give your opponent as many as you can, make the XYZ, and then just like crash over them. So that was the only little play.
Is it that Tantrum Toddler, or am I thinking of something else?
Nah, it's like a Utopia looking one. It's a water one though. I can't remember the name of it.
It's one of the new shark. Is it one of the new shark cards?
You can't play
sharks. Dragon.
Nah. It's like I'll have to get it. I've got it. That's the tech for it. It's just to attack over it basically. And
all the Mimigal players take notes.
There you go. And then giant Mimigal does burn as well. So if you burn you can just pop 2 cards and then burn your opponent for 2,000. So
sorry, carry on, bro.
No, go on.
But,
I was just gonna say I'm surprised at how much people like Mimigal. Like it seems fairly popular to me.
Do you know what it is? I think it's because it's the first time in a long time we've had a TCG exclusive archetype that actually does something.
It's good.
It's competent, isn't it? Since Plunder Patrol, I think.
100%. I mean, Plunder Patrol is the last one that comes to mind. I think that was a cohesive strategy. Like I don't know if anyone here has tried to build Tistino, but you better off burning money in it.
It was cheap to begin with because everyone looked at the cards and thought this is whack. I'm giving these away.
But going back to Dominus Impulse, I think the reason it's been played so highly quite now is obviously Fire King Snake Eye Azamina is like projected the best deck, and they only play Darks and Fires, which obviously is perfect for Dominus Impulse. And I think that's part of the reason that Dominus Purge never really took off, Obviously, the effect of Impulse is stronger. Obviously, Solemn Warning from the hand is, fucking broken. But Purge just being like a second Ash is like good, but there weren't really any decks that could play it, right? Like the best deck you were looking at that could play it, like Purge, was probably like some Wind Pile, like Speedroids or Crystal Beast or anything like that. Yeah, I think some Blue Eyes players are playing it in the OCG, but Impulse just seems to be in this kind of perfect storm, if you will.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Just a quick note: the card is called Full Armored Utopic Ray Lancer.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. One of them rank up nonsenses. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting strategies. But yeah. So then I'll have like my broad question then would be: would you say that Yu-Gi-Oh right now, as a result of specifically Mulcharmy, is better or worse? What would you say?
Overall,
yeah.
I think personally, it's not in a worse or a better state. To be honest, I think it's just kind of like a natural escalation. I've said this before, like, I've said it like on the podcast as well. Like, the fact that they're designed as going second cards is good. I think the issue with them is the fact that Tenpai is so powerful. So I think in that sort of like box, I suppose it makes Yu-Gi-Oh worse because the second best deck is just obnoxious. Like, I don't feel as bad when like a Snake Eye player Fuwalos me because they just drew it. Like, going second, like, that's whatever. When a Tenpai player Fuwalos me, they're also going to Perulia and Shift me, so I just, what's the point? Like, unless you're playing Centurion, you're fucked. What about you, Andre?
I agree with you, but in a different way. I think overall, I like the idea behind Perulia and Fuwaros, and the new one that's coming out, by the way, that's related
Graveyard
to
or
Banish. I think it promotes a different type of deck building, which is a good thing, because we're just seeing hand traps for like 18 hand traps and then try and resolve your one card starter. That's like boring deck building, and I think the Mulcharmy cards promote it. The only issue I have is that it's just not accessible to everyone. So
that's
people are gonna get frustrated just because people have got it and other people can't access it, and it feels unfair. Whereas if everybody had access to it, like your Ash Blossoms, or I don't know, just any card that's been printed, it wouldn't feel as bad, because okay, I'm gonna charm you back, or do you know what I mean? You just it just feels like a gaping advantage, and I think that's the more frustrating thing, which highlights the card itself. Do you know what I mean? So
I think that's always been a point in Yu-Gi-Oh. Obviously, like with those who can afford to play the best cards will always have that sort of advantage, but I think Fuwalos is the most expensive I've seen a single card, maybe since Prosperity came out.
I just looked, it's like 110 or 120 on eBay. That is crazy.
Yeah, for a single card. This is a card that was rare in
it was
OCG.
one of the most expensive cards ever.
It's definitely up there.
Like, if we think about staples, and if we ignore like the early Crush card days of when, like, if we ignore those days, it probably is one of the most expensive cards ever. Like, obviously there's the random outliers, but yeah, definitely. I cannot think of the last time a card, because sometimes cards are crazy priced, like before, obviously in pre-release and stuff, and like all like the first few days after the set. But I can't. But Rotor, when did Rotor release? Like, it's been out for a little bit now, like at least a few weeks, right?
2 or 3 weeks. 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time a card was this expensive that you needed to play at 3 of in your deck. I personally can't.
Maybe
Smith was like 80. Like, it was pre-released like over 100, then it settled at like 80, 70.
Yeah. Even Perulias were 50 on release.
Yeah, Perulias were they were lower. So yeah, it's a bit crazy. And I agree. I think the accessibility is probably going to be the biggest problem with that card.
100%.
Yeah, I can't lie. I was saying to one of my mates, like, if I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh right now, I would 100% be playing stun. I would pull out the stunniest stun decks. You would see just bare purple, bro. Like, I'll just see bare. But I saw, though, to be fair though, well, it's not really stun, but on UK Open, it was hilarious seeing Gabe Nets, like his opponent was playing Tenpai, and then like Shifter Perulias him, and then Gabe was like, Okay, set 4, pass. But then, unfortunately, his opponent was playing Tempai and killed him anyway. But still, I mean, I'm more on the game side there. I'll be 100% be playing stun because I ain't trying to get Perulian, shifted. I ain't really trying to interact with 17 negates. I was looking at the boards that Snake I made, and genuinely, it's crazy. Like, they just have interactions everywhere. Like, I don't know how you're meant to break those boards without slapping a sphere mode down or something. Like, the boards are genuinely quite nuts.
Yeah, this is another point I wanted to cover, actually, like, especially with the release of the Azamina cards. Like, we saw it a little bit with Fiendsmith last format, but it seems like the ability to, like, splash engines has never been as potent as it has been now, like, since maybe the Danger days, right?
It's to me, it's a yes and a no. I would say that we've had pockets, but I agree what you mean, like on a broad level, where it's not even just that it's as most potent now, it's more that it's the most effective strategy, as opposed to, so it's not every deck can do it, but basically if your deck can't do it, your deck's probably shit. And I do agree much with that. Like, yeah, it's a bit ridiculous. And I also look at some of the engines now, and I'm just like, this engine's better than my whole flipping deck. Like, it's crazy. Like, just witch plus the fact that Diabell Star, the Black Witch, can either get you basically any fire combo in the game, or it can get you a bunch of fusion negates. It's crazy. And then it gets you a draw as well. The card, after you use the spells to fusion summon, which is absolutely ridiculous, that it resets itself, so it's got recursion. It's like why should I even bother playing like Dark Souls? Like, what the heck? Like, my deck can't do this. So yeah,
do you know what I was gonna say? It's interesting you said that, because I think there's an issue there with regards to like the Fuwalos problem compounding how players feel about the game. Because I'll give you an example. Like, I managed to just pick up the Fiendsmith stuff. So I got the full Fiendsmith package. I've got Lacrima. I got the new Lacrima. And then Fuwalos dropped, and I'm like, I've literally just picked up the Fiendsmith stuff. Now I'm gonna have to do something to now pick up the Fuwalos, and then I've got to, like, I don't know, if I wanted to go ultra competitive, pick up the Azamina cards, which in reality is only really Deception. That's the most pricey one. But it just feels like Fiendsmith came and went, and like it's almost
doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like it's gone. Like it's because Fuwalos exists. Like, people are like, well, I'm not playing into it now.
It's 100, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I didn't really get the chance to like not abuse, but just enjoy those Fiendsmith cards, and I'm just like, I've got them now, and they feel almost obsolete, and now I've got to go and find some Fuwaroses, and it's just, I feel like you're just always chasing. Do you know what I mean? Unless you're ahead of the game.
That is frustrating, and I think looking at Supreme Darkness, now that we've had the majority of the set revealed, it looks as though they're moving away from that. Darkness seems to be a set that's only really got legacy support in it, and like maybe like another Diabell Star archetype that is maybe bad, but like it seems really, like, the biggest thing for me that made me realise, wow, okay, this is getting a bit much, is seeing people sell Fiendsmith engravers for like 45 a piece. Like, someone offered me one for 45, and I was like, damn, are you that down? Like, and then I checked eBay, and I was like, what the heck? Like, it is crazy. It is crazy. I do think that Azamina in general is obviously way less expensive than Fiendsmith was on release, but it's still a crazy price for what it is. Like,
I think a part of the Fiendsmith losing value though is it's a bit like Shell Shock, where what's happened is, if you've, like, in the OCG, for example, admittedly OCG is a slightly less competitive environment than the CCG, but in the OCG, they're used to the kind of maxi S cards. And so if you want to combo in OCG, play combo. Like, they just kind of have like it's part of the game. We have our 8 counters to it, and then we move. In the TCG, we're not used to that. And so what's happening a lot in the TCG is that for a lot of players right now, they haven't experienced having to deal with something like Fuwalos, and so their initial thing is, okay, chuck out the Fiendsmith. Anything that summons too much, I don't want to play it. And that is kind of what's making Fiendsmith less good. And as a result, I do think there's a chance that if Fiendsmith doesn't get slapped on the list, it will just creep up again as people realize that it's okay to play combo. I mean, there was a bloody guy playing 6 Sam. I mean, I don't know how the heck you're playing that in. But we can see that you can still play those wombo combo decks, because firstly, they're not always going to draw Fuwalos, and secondly, after a certain point, it doesn't really matter how many cards you draw. Like, I actually so I tried to play DB again last week. So I went on to DB, What was I playing? I was playing.
Probably
It
Rescue
was
Ace,
something.
right?
You would think so, but no. It was something like really random. I think it was just the first deck that was on my thing. But the point is, I put the Fuwalos in, and then he was playing Draco Slayer, and I was like, sick. And then I activated my Fuwalos, and then I drew like 8 cards. Then he activated Secret Village. I was playing muskets. That's why.
Oh,
Yeah. So then he activated Secret Village, and then I drew like 8 cards, but they were all flipping spells. I couldn't play. So I just lost. I couldn't activate a card, and I was like, yeah, like. Furos is nice, but sometimes your opponent just has it and you can't really do much about it.
yeah. Yeah, that is one thing that I do think Fuwalos like has going for it is sometimes like your opponent will just draw into a load of hand traps, but sometimes they'll draw 8 cards and they still can't break the board. Like you have to have like a good deck behind it, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Or at least good staples.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah. So yeah, exactly. Good staples.
But the point going back to Andre's point, the price point of it is. It seems like people hate it that much because it is such a inaccessible card for a lot of the player base, and there's nothing wrong with like not being able to drop that much money on a hobby. That's these are hard times for the world. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
but
you're mad.
Yeah, I don't know. It's yeah. Unless you've got like some generous friends, it's.
I think it's worse than normal though. Like.
Yeah, this year's been awful.
100, unreleased, it was like 100 and what, 30, 40.
Yeah.
I consider myself to be someone who could potentially pay for some expensive cards, although I always choose not to, because I've got other priorities. But like, that's out of my own price range. I've got a credit card. I got a credit card.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I could just use that, but I'm like, nah, not for like how much is that? 400 pounds just for a playset. I'm just like, nah, that's a joke.
In case you guys don't know, Sparking Zero just came out. I got the ultimate edition of Sparking Zero for £100. That's less than Furos. So if you think I'm buying a playset of that card instead of Sparking Zero, you're taxed. I'm buying Sparking Zero for PC and PS5, and I'm still paying less than you if you're getting a playset of Furos. So. Look, I'm priced out of Furos. I'm completely priced out. I've got bigger and better priorities down in Dragon Ball Z land. I'm sorry. Yeah, it can't work for me. Yeah, well.
But Fuwalos is going to be one of the things that people are going to want to be picking up for bigger events, obviously. And speaking of bigger events, let's get on to the news that was announced this weekend as of recording. So Konami just seems to love Birmingham, right? They just seem to be head over heels for the ball. And we got YCS Birmingham coming up. How are we all feeling about that?
Do you know what? I do actually think, to an extent, I think it's, even though they do still do events in London, I think that it's the costing, and I think hiring out the NEC and stuff is probably a lot cheaper than the XL, and I think that's why they're coming back here for like the big events. It makes sense because we literally had was it Nationals here?
Yeah,
2 years in a row.
Yeah, and then we had the 250th here as well, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, that was London. That was London.
Oh, that was London. Okay, but yeah, we keep having events up here, and so I think that it is kind of a good thing for, I mean, because all of us are in the West Mids. If you don't live in the West Mids, it's more peak for you. But
then you got to come to the West Midlands.
But no, I'm definitely happy about it. It's nice to have a YCS in Birmingham for sure.
Definitely.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm at odds as to what to play. Because again, I think the timing of them is like crazy. Because is there a set out like a week before or something like that? Or
Supreme Darkness comes out a week before, but the general consensus is I don't think there's going to be too much that changes the meta in there in terms of archetypes. But then we get Maze of the Master potentially before the YCS, which is going to have the 7th Tachyon card, which is a massive consistency boost to Ryziel, which is projected to be one of the best decks.
I was going to say that, so Ryziel and then like the Alice deck and the Pokemon deck, all of those will be out by then, right? Yeah, so I mean, I think the format's going to be completely different. I'm really interested to see if Ryziel will succeed as much here as it does in the OCG. I really think, even though we have Maxi now, I really do think that what's it called? A big part of Ryziel's success is the existence of real Maxi, and I think us not having that card and just having Mulcharmys, I don't know if it'll succeed as much. Like, I do think it's going to be a good deck. I think it's top tier deck. I think it's great, but I mean, it's hard to beat just kind of summons that don't start a chain that just and then like simplified game states where it's like you can easily make your rank 4 and then carry on moving, but you can extend further. Like that's a really good thing to have in a deck. But I mean, to me, it's like Ryzeal doesn't seem like that much better than like Snake Eye or something. It seems like Math Mech to me. That's the funny thing. Like Ryzeal for me is like just rank 4 Math Mech. And I don't know, like I'm interested to see if it dominates as hard here in OCG, because if I'm not mistaken, it's been like the best in it. It's like the new Snake Eye in the OCG, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's been dominating pretty heavily.
It's knocked like Snake Eye. Snake Eye's obviously doing like a little bit, but it's knocked Yubel straight off the map. Like Ryzeal's just like taking over there.
Yeah.
I like the look of Ryzeal. I don't like the philosophy behind the deck building again. It's just like 17, 18 starters and a million hand traps. And I don't keep going on about it, but it'd be nice to just have something slightly different. Like
something different,
I think that's why I like Yubel, because they've got like that alternative win condition where they can just crash with Yubel and Nightmare Pain. I think that's cool. Do you know what I mean? It does set up an oppressive board, but like it's cool that it can do something different. Whereas
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Ryzeal just feels like you're just gonna play hand trap wars and just gonna compare hands, and then I resolve my combo and then I win. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's not like very fun Yu-Gi-Oh to me. Like I've always been like a bit more of a control player, but I don't think it's because I spent a year playing Yubel, but like even like the road decks I've been picking, like I've really been enjoying decks where it's like play with your hand as opposed to like, you know, just draw the E-telly and then just crack off from there. Like I don't know, it's a bit weird, and it feels like with that type of deck building that Konami seems to be going with, it kind of just seems like pick your poison, right? Because Centurion is another deck that was projected to do really well over here on release, and it's taken a bit of a while to get off the ground, but people are starting to take it a bit more seriously. Weirdly, after Calamity got banned, but whatever. But in my head, it's kind of like, why not just play Centurion? Like if it's essentially the same thing, like, and I can put out double Quasar. You know what I mean? Yeah. But again, I haven't played much Ryzeal, so maybe Ryzeal is better. I'm sure it probably is, but I don't know. Like I'm with Andre. I think that the deck building philosophy needs to change a little bit, because even with the Blue Eye structure deck, best way to play that is 10 1-card starter and 18 hand drops.
With the Link one.
Yeah. Even Orcus get a Link one. Like,
you know what? I will say the Orcus release did make me very happy, and it did really make me think like, oh, like that is a deck I'd like to play again. Like, and the cards are good. We got the Link one that searches the field spot and that as well, which is always love that.
Yeah. So you need it, the Link one that searches the field spot into the race.
Yeah, it's a really nice point to be in. Yeah, but I'm hesitant to have too much hope though, because what's happened before is that Konami released a bunch of support for an archetype or for some cards, and then it doesn't come out for 6 months, and then they power creep the hell out of the support before it even starts. And so like, while I am excited about like this new stuff and all that, it's like at the same time it's like I don't know, Orcus might already be DOA, and I'm not gonna be the happiest if that's the case. So we'll see what happens. I'm holding my breath.
I feel. Oh, go on, Dan.
I was gonna say, I think Orcus is one of those archetypes that so many people love it that it's gonna see some sort of success just because of the amount of people who are gonna be tapping with it, like in the lab, right?
That is a good point. Yeah, like I think Orcus is probably like close to Shadow in terms of like just how much everyone wanted to play it and find a way to splash it into their deck. And it is a fun deck to play. Like I would actually say like Orcus, or if we look at like most of the Yu-Gi-Oh decks, like the stuff it does, it's just an interesting way to play with your cards. It's like it's a graveyard deck that's actually a graveyard deck. It's got these interesting mechanics. The artwork in the World Legacy storyline is also very, very good. I think it's some of the best artwork that we've had in Yu-Gi-Oh, so yeah, for sure.
I'm just thinking of the timing of it. Like, it might even suffer from collateral damage, in my opinion, just because the Malice archetype's out, and that just screams throw Lancia at your opponent, and then Orcus just gets kind of like involved with that, and it just diminishes the hype. Like, you're gonna already be playing Lancia. I'm not gonna do anything. You get all this stuff into the graveyard, and then just look at it for a turn. Like, do you know what I mean? So. It's weird.
100% true.
I don't know. But yeah, I am looking forward to it. I like the fact that it grinds. It's a bit of a different way of playing, and it just out-resources your opponent. So
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's insane how like the view of the player base shifts, right? Because everyone hated Orcus when it was around, and it kind of feels like I don't know, because maybe it's just because I was playing during Eternal format, but I feel like there were a lot more people who disliked Orcus than there were who liked it. But now everyone seems to just really, really like it.
I feel like, I don't know, because while I don't think everyone loved, like, I don't think you might have loved playing against it, but I think in terms of like playing it, I feel like most people like had a pretty good opinion of Orcus. Like, it was quite a like, I'm playing Orcus. Just like I've got all of these dinghy send. Like, everyone loves having their dinghies. Everyone's spending stupid amount of money on Galatea ultis and stuff. Like, it did feel to me like a pretty popular deck. And one thing I would say as well. Oh, but yeah, I get what you're saying about playing against. But one thing I would say that is definitely the case now is that I think decks have become a lot worse to play against in general.
Ooh, true.
So like playing against a deck before is like sometimes you get router and stuff, but now every deck feels like you're playing against Danger Thunder Dragon, where it's like they set up Infinity Negates and you don't ever get a chance. And that much it's not the most fun thing in the world for sure.
That's very true.
I don't know who mentioned it. It might have been Joshua Schmidt. He said the ceiling needs to come down. The floor's okay in terms of what decks can do, but the ceiling needs to come down. And I actually thought about that, and I was like, he's got some merit to that, because at locals on the Wednesday locals that I go to, there's a guy that's been playing Naturia Horus. And I swear, I seen his
Naturia Horus.
I seen his end board. It was Regulus, Utopic Future Draco, Nat Beast, the sarcophagus, and like two of the Horus monsters on field. And I was like, that's an FTK. Like,
I need to do some exploration.
It was so spicy, and I was like, no way, this is a rogue deck in it. And like, that, like, obviously he went on to uninterrupted. He was playing against Sky Striker. But like, I'm just thinking that's a rogue deck, and it almost feels like you can't play. Do you got what I mean?
Yeah.
It was it was crazy.
No, I know exactly what you mean. Like, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but I'm a big fan of Crystal Beast, and now that we've been playing that with like the Nemesis package and the Fiends Mist stuff, it's like normal summon Sapphire Pegasus is ending you on like a Desiree, like an SP, a Colossus, like even rogue decks seem to be doing crazy things, right?
Yeah.
Like, I do think. Obviously, like a lot of these road decks fold to like one or two hand traps, but that's not really the point we're trying to make.
Yeah, the problem is the end boards, and it's like it's for me. It always goes back to the generic engine thing, where what happens is if we look at decks in Yu-Gi-Oh, the generic stuff at the top of the Desiree, like you just said, so it's like you've got the Desiree, you've got the access code, you've got now you've got whatever the Azami, like it's not generic, but it might as well be the Azamina fusions. That stuff is so much better than any in-archetype stuff that another deck does, that it just becomes what deck can do that the most efficiently, that is the best deck in terms of meta. But even if your deck's not meta, your deck's eventually going to get there and then just do the same shenanigan nonsense. So it's really not great. And I think it really points to, I agree with Joshua Schmidt, it points to an issue that we've had in Yu-Gi-Oh for a while, where Konami need to clamp down on the ceiling. And you can see they're trying to with the Mulcharmy cards. Even the card they announced recently, there's a new reptile they just announced, where it's basically if your opponent activates a hand trap, it's 4,000k towers that just summons from the hand. And I can see the thought process behind. I think the product design is still bad, but I can see the thought process behind what he was trying to do with that card, where it's like, okay, you've hand trapped me, I'm gonna immediately kind of simplify the game state and force you to deal with this without resources. But I think there are better solutions. I think Konami needs to be stricter with the ban list. It's a really good tool, and I think they just need to be smart with their deck design. I mean, you can look at some of the cards that have been released already and just be like, oh my gosh, like, this is going to be a problem in a few months. Like, and it's just like, why are you doing this? Like, you're just creating problems for yourself that don't need to exist.
I think that's the issue, right? I think that we're getting so many like powerful staples on top of what we've already got. Like, and I feel like, I don't know, is anyone else feeling like they can see like maybe some Ghost Girls like paying a visit to the ban list a bit soon, like pretty soon?
The only reason why I can't is because Konami is horrible at banning cards that actually need to be banned. So that's the only reason why I wouldn't say I can see a Ghost Girl hitting the list anytime soon. But they should. I mean, I think loads of the Ghost Girls should be banned. They're not particularly interactive or fun cards to deal with.
Not even like as a way of like simplifying the game. I think even just as like pushing more product, right? Like pushing these new hand traps they might have. Because I think if you had hand traps that were only designed going second, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But I don't think it's necessarily a good thing either.
Yeah. But it's, But the only problem though, it then comes to the Konami is one difficulty Konami has that other game designers or other TCGs don't have, is that in Yu-Gi-Oh, if you release a card, you have a way bigger history of cards to deal with and a way wider range. Even in One Piece, that doesn't necessarily ban or that doesn't necessarily have set rotation. It's like in One Piece, if I release a card, I know that there's blue, black, green, blah, blah, and they all operate within fairly standard parameters. There's only really 6 archetypes. If I'm playing another game, then it's like I have set rotation, so I don't have to worry about cards behind 2 years. In Yu-Gi-Oh, that's not the case, and so it does make it harder for Konami, because if you ban the Ghost Girls in response to what you just said, you just end up with the issue where the 6 Sam guy turns up and he's like, oh, my time's alright. He's FTKing you. As Andre just said, there's the Naturia Horus guy coming out of nowhere and suddenly FTKing you. So that's the other issue that Konami has, where there's a lot of old archetypes that do kind of need to be held in check. By cards like the Ghost Girls.
I think Konami could, I wouldn't say try harder, but I think they could do better with regards to the hand traps they could potentially release. Like, the Dominus cards are strong, but I like the restrictions applied to them. I feel like if you're going down that line, that's the kind of thing that we like to see. Strong, but with a trade-off. So you've got to build your deck in a way that's going to optimize the use of that card, but also play around its restrictions. And I think if they did that a little bit more, it might be a bit better for the game. Because I think what's frustrating, I don't know about you guys, but like, if my opponent goes full combo through, let's say I drop 2 hand traps and they still end on somewhat of a board, they might potentially still have hand traps. So then I can't play through the board and a hand trap. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's a double-edged sword. Do you know what I mean? Because they've got them in so they can play, but I've got them in so I can play. I've used them, but I can't play.
That's also annoying, because they have the solution and they won't do it, because we know they know the solution because they put on the Mulcharmy cards. So we know they know, like, just every hand trap should just say you can't use it if you have cards on your field in your graveyard or something to that effect. But they're like, no, fuck it, Dominus. Why are you doing this? Like,
it is crazy.
Yeah, it is wild. But so how's everyone's like feelings on like picking decks right now? Fabs, I know you said you've not been playing as much, but Andre, like you mentioned to us before the call started that you've been having a little bit of like choice paralysis with deck building. Like, what are you thinking like you want from a deck right now in this crazy format we're in?
I just want to be able to play the game.
That's such a good answer.
I know that seems a bit cliche, but I just want to be able to play the game. I want to be able to just do a few things that might pay off depending on my opponent's response, and then I've got to do something. I don't want to be at a situation where I'm trying to play Yu-Gi-Oh! My opponent sets up their board and there's just nothing I can do. Do you know what I mean? And that's arguably going to mean that I'm going to have to play closer to what the meta is. Which is frustrating, because that means that I'm going to have to try and go and source Mulcharmies and all that kind of stuff, which is something that I'm not going to do. So like I said, I'm stuck. So I've got the Fiendsmith stuff, looking at Unchained, like a go second variant, so I don't need to worry about the Mulcharmies, and then just take it from there until I can get my hands on said cards, and then I'll play a different deck. Do you know what I mean? But that's me for now, just because I don't need to spend any more money on it. I've got the cards, I'm just going to play them.
Yeah, fair enough.
What about you, Dan?
So like I've been getting pretty bored of playing Yubel, like just because I've been playing it for so long, and I've been messing around with a few rogue decks here and there. But I think for me, it's like I think I'm in like a pretty similar boat to Andre. Like I like decks that have sort of like not a gimmick, I don't think, but like decks that do something that's different. Like I I don't know. Let's take the example of Centurion, like using the spells and trap zones and like playing around cards and things like that. That's a deck that's cool to me, and it's a deck I played previously in the past. But I don't know. I'm not really a fan of just the 18 hand traps and everything, and I kind of want to just play like a balls to the wall combo deck and just be like, have you got Dark Ruler or not? But it just seems very, very hard to do that right now. So I don't know. It's a difficult one. So for the time being, it's frustrating because I've been labbing all these decks like with the Sanctum Squad boys, and like we're talking about YCS picks and things like that. And it comes to locals days, and I'm looking through my binder, and I just see the U-Battle core looking at me, and I just think, come on, man, get you out of the binder. And don't get me wrong, like it always feels good when your opponent goes to battle phase when you got a Nightmare Pain down, but and I can't believe I'm saying this, there's more to life.
No,
I know.
You say that, we can see the email picture in the background. It's like, okay.
Yeah. I know. They're looking at me like, what have you done to me? What have you done this for? But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I've been enjoying Horus though, like Horus variants, because that's actually an engine that doesn't really give a fuck about the Mulcharmies. So
yeah,
it's always fun to just sort of like have your opponent drop 2 Mulcharmies, and then you just do all your summoning from the grave anyway. So,
yeah.
Which is pretty funny. But Fabs, like I said, you've not been playing. What do you think it would be? Obviously, we've got the YTS coming up. What do you think it would take for you to sort of like start testing seriously, or like even just going back on to like a locals grind?
I have two answers there. I have my real answer, which I'll give you guys off the show.
Yeah, but like real life factors.
Is Rescue Ace. Rescue Ace being the best deck again. That's the honest truth. And I say that half jokey, half real in that what made me get really addicted to Yu-Gi-Oh! Last year was playing Rescue Ace because the deck was fun. I don't think I've ever played Yu-Gi-Oh! And really loved the deck as much as Rescue Ace in my entire time of playing. And I knew I was gonna like Rescue Ace from before it released. Like when obviously we get the pre-announcements like 6 months ahead, right?
Yeah.
So like from then I knew I liked Rescue Ace, I liked the thematic, I liked everything. And I think that's what it would take for me to play again. I'd need to see a deck and be like, I like this deck and it's good. It doesn't even need to be good because I'm fine with playing crap decks. But it's like, I like this deck because it's cool, because it does nice things. And personally, there hasn't, like, I can see what's coming. And like, there are a couple of cool decks. I think the Pokemon deck is cool thematically. I think the Malice deck is kind of cool. Yugioh, I think, is an interesting deck to play in terms of gameplay. I don't think there are. Like, I don't really care about the theme of the deck, but I think play-wise it's interesting. But none of them make me want to play the game because for me, it's just not that fun. I look at those decks and I'm like, I'm just playing the same Yu-Gi-Oh! With a deck that I'm not that interested in. So there'll need to be like a really big change or a really big a really cool release. Like, as I said, Orcus is probably the thing that brought me closest to that, where I was like, oh, I'd kind of like to come back and play.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say to Konami's credit that I do like they're doing is I really do respect that they're putting in the effort to revive old decks that aren't going to make them much money. Like, if you look at the new Orcus cards, like, because to create a card, I remember I was watching the podcast with the product designer, the old product designer on Farf and Josh's podcast, and like the effort to create an archetype and stuff is a lot. And whether it's like rebooting, and this is less relevant to Yu-Gi-Oh! This is relevant to like other games and stuff, but one of the things that you often find out is that recreating an archetype or redesigning a card is the same amount of effort as creating a brand new one.
Yeah.
However, when you recreate a card or redesign an archetype, a lot of the times you have way less profit. Because with the new archetype, it's going to be a bunch of new stuff. People have to play with the old archetype. They have half the cards already. And also, they're probably just going to make it filler in a new set. They can't make the new Orcus like this chase secret in a set. It's just not going to sell. And so the fact that Konami is willing to put the effort to make some of these old beloved archetypes good again, I really do like it. And it does show kind of, even though I say all the time that Konami doesn't rate their consumer base, I know there's at least 1 or 2 people in Konami like fighting for the players and making sure that it's like, okay, let's show some love to this archetype, show some love to that archetype, and I do like that.
Yeah, I think a really like great example of like all the points that you've made there is like the Glad B support that's going to be coming out.
Yeah,
that's
Bro,
like
2 battle phases.
yeah,
what the
that
heck?
looks nice.
Yeah, that's like a huge fan favorite archetype, and we know for a fact that's not going to be an expensive deck core to buy out of Supreme Darkness. So yeah, that's refreshing to hear that actually, because I didn't actually watch that podcast. So I do. I'll be listening to it later on tonight. But I think it is cool when they revive archetypes or like give them support that aren't just going to be money pits. Like, oh boy, new hero cards, or oh wow, Dark Magician support. Like, it's cool when they go like, yeah, it's like, oh yeah, like, you know, let's give Naturia some new cards. Like, do you know what I mean? It's interesting. It's interesting.
I was gonna say, just before we move on, going back to one of your points, Fabs. I think there is a little bit of merit in playing a deck that you really enjoy. So at the regional that I went to last week, one of my boys actually topped with Sword Soul. Now he's been playing. Yeah.
My guy.
He's been playing that deck for, I don't even know, since it came out. I actually traded him an Ecclesia, or the Synchro girl. I can't remember her name. But he topped with that, and Hakuna Matata must have messaged him and said, "Can you do me a deck profile?" And like, you should have seen him in chat, and he was like, "I can't believe I've done this again. Like, I've been playing this deck since I don't know how long, and it's still working." So there is a bit of merit, and he said to me he can look at his hand and know if he's gonna win or not. Doesn't matter what the opponent's gonna do. And I was like, that's crazy. And he's played against like Fire Kings, like all the meta decks you can think of, and he was just cooking them.
I think that's like, I think that's like such a good point when it comes to like knowing your deck inside out, because I think if you're a skilled player and like your deck is competent in what it does, like you can put in like so much more effort into learning the meta game, right? Because you don't have to worry about what's going on with your players and stuff, like, and you can like just do things like that. Look at your hand and know if it's worth playing. And I got a lot of time for like, you know, people who just love one deck and just play it no matter what, and especially something like Sword Soul, like, you know, Protoss jokes aside, that deck is good. So,
yeah, 100%. It's
unless if it's branded that you play, because no one wants to be Nightmare Lots. So
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That is sidebar. I don't know why that card's still not banned. I don't know what Konami's playing at. Just, you see how it is, like, anyway, yeah. Yes, but I think onto our last topic, and it's going to be a question. It's not going to be Am I the Arsehole, because I didn't prepare one, but it's going to be a question for everyone in this group. And I guess it's kind of like in the same vein as your last question, Dan, which is, for the next year, what are you looking forward to? Next year, Yu-Gi-Oh!
I think for me, it's hard to say this early on, but from what we've seen so far, like, I'm looking forward to the support that older archetypes are getting. I'm looking forward to messing about with the evil hero cards, and drawing 3 Mali for it once every match. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to be in Maze the Master, because it'll probably be rubbish, and there'll probably be like one good ultra rare in there. I'm looking forward to, you know what? I'm looking forward to playing a new deck. That's pretty much it. I'm looking forward to ban lists. I'm looking forward to the events in Birmingham. I'm looking forward to everything that is going to be happening on Sanctum Squad, actually, because we've recently come off our hiatus and we are, in fact, uploading regularly. So, like and subscribe to Sanctum Squad if you haven't. I don't do a lot of promotion because we don't normally don't normally upload, but we are now. So, yeah. What about you, Andre?
I think for me, regardless of whatever my status is with regards to whether or not I get my invite, I'm gonna go to Euros.
My boy.
Next year is a bit of a milestone in terms of birthdays, so I'm gonna go out, and even if I don't get an invite, I'm gonna go and have a good time. I might play some Yu-Gi-Oh! I might not. At least I like that choice. But that's my goal for the year. I want to get my invite just to say that I got it. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm actually gonna like try and like metagame it to get my invite if I can. But I'm gonna go regardless. That's my goal. Hope it's gonna be somewhere exotic that I can just go and have a look around the city and then just enjoy some Yu-Gi-Oh! And then have a bit of a chill time with the boys.
Yeah. I do hear Berlin is a nice place.
Yeah.
So it'll be there.
I will say, yeah, they do pick nice cities for Euros. Like every time I've gone, it's fun. Like there's always stuff to go look at. And yeah, Berlin was really nice. Utrecht was really nice as well. So yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Fabs? Like, if you do end up making your big return to Yu-Gi-Oh and not becoming a Dragon Ball Sparking Zero channel?
Look, let me be real. It's already too late. I'm already like ranked A5 in Sparking Zero, and I'm not turning around at all. But for me, I'm actually looking forward to potentially better production value. We saw a glimmer of it this year.
It's
where,
true. You know.
I don't know what event it was, but there was one specific one where they had like the production value was so good. Like they had like the screen and they were doing the questions and stuff in the games, and like I'm hoping that this is a good sign that Konami's listening. I saw in the Facebook as well, like how they have like new prizes for top 16 and stuff like that. Like and all of that, and so I'm hoping this means that it's going there. Even though, funnily enough, I don't see myself going to any tournaments next year, but it's like I think every single tournament is going to be better as a result of production value and pricing and stuff. And so I am really looking forward, because what happens is if the tournaments are better and like people are more willing to go to them and like you can get more money and stuff from them, companies are more willing to sponsor teams, which means the teams get better, which means the players get better, which means you get a better viewing experience. That is why League is. I don't play League, guys. I want you to understand like how many years it's been since I play League, and yet every year without fail I watch the League World Championships because it's just that good to watch, even if I don't really understand what's going on sometimes. And I want Yu-Gi-Oh to be like that. So that's what I'm looking forward to: the increased production value and improved tournaments, because I do think it will make the game a lot better.
Yeah, it does seem like they're going in the right direction, and even with that communication to the player base, it seems like they're going in the right direction for that. So here's hoping that we stick to that.
Yes, definitely. But yes, on that note, we're going to close out this episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh Show. Guys, look, as I said, we are going to carry on doing the show because it's always a great time. We might actually, well, I've got a surprise, but I won't reveal it until I've confirmed the surprise. But yeah, thank you all for watching. It's funny because I was gonna say it, then I was like, you know what? I haven't even told these guys; they don't even know yet. So I'll tell you guys, and then I'll drop it maybe next show when I've confirmed it.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you all for watching. It's always good to have everyone's support, and I hope we'll see you all very soon. Peace.